This is Power Hour with Gabriella Power.
Hello and welcome to Power Hour. Joe Biden has returned from his beach holiday and he's decided to do a bit of work. He joined Vice President Kamala Harris on the campaign trail early this week in the battleground state of Pennsylvania, where it seems he forgot that he actually dropped out of the race and is no longer running for president.
Folks, we made a lot of progress, and Kamala and I are going to build on that progress, and she's going to build on it. I'll be on the sidelines, but I'll do everything I can to help.
Look at the way he tries to save himself. He claims that he'll be on the sidelines. No, he won't. We all know he'll be back at the beach in no time, which, to be honest, is where he belongs, because he shouldn't be in the White House, and if he really wants to help Kamala Harris, he should stay as far away from the campaign trail as possible. But he's back pretending he knows what's going on. So let's listen to what the 81-year-old president had to say and to see if you can make any sense of it.
You can no longer be the manufacturing capital of the world. Where the hell is that written? We are the greatest manufacturing county in the world, state in the world, city in the world. Eric Dean of the Iron Workers, Tim Driscoll of Bricklayers, April Bell of the SEIU.
Did anyone get that? Now, look, this next clip that I'm about to play for you is not funny. It's serious. It shows you how bad the president's mental decline is. After he was asked by reporters if he had a message for the families of the hostages who were tragically killed in Gaza, he claimed that he spoke to the American hostage.
Do you have a message for the hostages' families, sir?
Yes, I've spoken to the American hostage. I spoke to his mom and dad, and we're not giving up. We're going to continue to push as hard as we can.
How insulting. Now, look, it's clearly an accident, but that doesn't make it okay. Why is he still being excused? It seems we've reached the point where people see this and they don't even bat an eyelid anymore. Everyone has just accepted that America has a leader who has no idea who he is, where he is, or what he's saying. Not a clue. Meanwhile, the woman who wants to be the president of the United States, Kamala Harris, is doing a great job hiding from reporters. She decided to put headphones in as she walked past journalists and made her way to the plane, which I suppose would be fine if she was actually on the phone. Unfortunately, this was just bad acting, which she gave away. When Kamala Harris turned around to wave to reporters and photographers, she had her phone up to her ear, which is not how you would have a phone call with somebody if you were wearing headphones. Let's bring in Emily Wilson, the host of Emily Saves America. And Emily, we need you to save America right now. When you look at the gaffes that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris just keep making, it's unbearable. What do you make of the new ways Kamala Harris is going about avoiding reporters?
Well, it's funny because every time she steps foot outside or she even speaks, Trump increases in the polls. So I think it's fantastic. You also have Trump doing over 2-hour-long discussions with Elon Musk. He just did Lex Fridman. He did Theo Vaughn. I mean, Tucker Carlson. I mean, he's on every platform. And meanwhile, every time she talks, yeah, we go up in the polls. And keep in mind, this President Biden wasn't mentally fit to stand trial. And she stood there alongside of him and said that he was competent to be the president.
Yeah, and she has no regrets about lying to the American people, as we heard in that really hard-hitting interview with CNN last week. But it seems like Kamala Harris has also forgotten that she's running for president because she just keeps acting or trying out these acting skills. She tried the I'm on the phone thing before. But let's listen to how she delivers her scripted lines in Detroit.
You better thank a union member for the 5-day work week. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
It is so hard to watch. Emily's is helping her.
She's honestly the epitome of cringe. What's so crazy is I've seen her when she is speaking, which is so rare. She's done multiple different accents, and it's kind of funny to me. I know she's speaking to not exactly the smartest crowd, but when she does these inherently kind of like ghetto accents, which I feel like is not only kind of racist, but extremely insulting to her own audience. If Trump was changing his voice, I'd be like, what are you doing? I'd be like, this is very weird. And don't speak to us like we're dumb, but I'm not shocked with her audience.
And she does it in front of the cameras. It's I don't know why she's doing it. I feel like she has to be taking it upon herself. Surely no one is advising her to put on these accents. But the White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about why Kamala Harris keeps putting on different accents. This is her response.
Since when does the Vice President have what sounds like a Southern accent?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
She was talking about unions in Detroit using one tone of voice.
Is this something that you
think? Same line.
Okay, Peter.
That she used the same line in Pittsburgh, and it sounded like she at least had some kind of a Southern drawl.
Do you hear the question that you're? Do you think Americans seriously think that this is an important question?
How's the response? Nothing to see here. You know, this is just what the White House does now, just gaslight.
It's so funny because every time Peter Doocy is in the room and asks the question, you can just see the life just flooding out of her because she's so stressed because he's the only one that they allow to ask real questions. But when she's like, does this matter? Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I think it does matter that you're doing fake accents to your audience. And I think it's very weird. And you call Republicans weird every day. I think this is very weird and you should explain yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Joe Biden is back after his 18-day vacation, and after stuffing up while speaking to reporters, he's back to just staring blankly at journalists.
May God protect our troops.
President Biden.
President Biden.
Somehow he's still the president of the United States.
This is crazy. We don't see him. We don't hear for him. I mean, this is literally just straight up elder abuse at this point. This is so sad. I mean, he must be propped up on so many medications. But then again, he probably thinks that she's the president now because he doesn't know where he is. Let's keep in mind, he's been on vacation like at least 60% of the time he's been president. Trump got shot and hasn't stopped one day.
I know, it's incredible. Let's turn our attention to Donald Trump. We've spoken on this program before about how women would be better off in America if Donald Trump was elected. Now, just a few days ago, he announced a policy that would see IVF treatments, all of them, paid for the government or insurance companies. Here is Donald Trump.
I'm announcing today in a major statement that under the Trump administration, your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment, fertilization for women, IVF treatment. Because we want more babies, to put it very nicely. And for this same reason, we will also allow new parents to deduct major newborn expenses from their taxes.
An amazing announcement, yet the Democrats can't handle that Donald Trump wants to protect women, make the country a better place for women. Just over a week ago, Democrats were suggesting that he would ban IVF. Here's Michelle Obama.
Taking away our freedom to control our bodies, the freedom to become a mother through IVF like I did, those things are not going to improve the health outcomes of our wives, mothers, and daughters.
Donald Trump, he's just exposed them. They lie and they lie. But what do you make of his announcement?
Well, yeah, they said he was going to do a nationwide abortion ban, which he said no. They have to lie about him because the party that's obsessed with protecting women's rights is only obsessed with protecting women's rights when it's about killing children inside of them. They don't care about the children being slaughtered by immigrants. They don't care about the people, dying from fentanyl across our borders. And it's so funny. Everything they thought they had on him, they don't anymore. And also, I like this because if the right-wing community is going to go off about family and having children and all these things, well, this is right along with our values. This is a beautiful thing to do. And I think it's fantastic. And once again, this is another thing they're not going to have to go against him. And this is all they had. All they had was abortion and IVF. What now?
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like the honeymoon period is over with Kamala Harris. Looking at the odds on Polymarket, Donald Trump is up by 3%. Obviously, anything can happen between now and November 5. But what do you make of the way it's shifting?
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. I'm on Polymarket every day watching, because basically anytime that Kamala now gives a speech or goes into public, he goes up. And not only that, because I think he's doing so many interviews aggressively and going out there and getting on the ground with people. I think that's why he's doing so well, because a lot of these people who are interviewing him are, I think, a lot of middle voters. And not only that, he's now endorsed by RFK, and those people were definitely middle and definitely left leaning. And it went from Make America Great Again, which it still is to all of us, to now Make America Healthy Again. So a vote for Kamala Harris is saying you want the country to be dangerous and unhealthy, and therefore you are just straight anti-American. Emily Wilson, it is so great to speak with you. Thank you so much for joining us on Power Hour. Thank you. Joining us now is comedian Alex Stein, who's joining us from Texas. Alex, great to speak with you. We are 2 months away from Election Day, and we've heard from Kamala Harris supporters who are super clear about why they like her, what policies of hers that they like, and why they're going to vote for her.
Trump or Kamala?
Kamala.
Kamala, why?
She's not Trump.
She's not Trump. Okay, what's your favorite policy of Kamala's?
Actually, I don't know any of her policies.
What's one of your favorite policies of Kamala?
I had to pick between the two of them. I'm just picking her because it feels like the lesser of two evils.
Trump or Kamala?
Oh, Kamala.
Kamala. Why Kamala?
She is really a smart lady. I think she has all the tools she needs to be a president.
Alex, they make a lot of sense, don't they?
Yeah, they make no sense, but really they don't have anything to say. I mean, Kamala was supposed to be in charge of the border. She didn't do anything with that. I just wish they were honest and they said that they like her because she's an African-American woman. I mean, that would actually be, justifiable, but they can't even say that. So that shows you how much support she truly has. She has no support, just people don't like Donald Trump. They're just voting against Trump. They're not voting for Kamala Harris.
And at this point in time, do you think more and more people are realizing that Kamala doesn't really have a lot to offer?
I think so, but what is going to be most important is this debate coming up next Tuesday. I think that will wake a lot of people up. But right now, people don't even take into account the fact that she's been the vice president for the past 3 years. So a lot of our problems right now with inflation, just the fact that we're basically about to head to World War III, she could be stopping all this currently. But she's running on a campaign of stuff she's going to potentially do. So people need to wake up. Sadly, it's hard to wake up somebody that doesn't really want to.
Now, I want to talk to you about Tim Walz. We've seen how Kamala Harris avoids reporters, but just take a look at this guy who wants to be the vice president and how he responded when he was asked a serious question about the murder of 6 hostages, including an American citizen by Hamas in Rafah.
What's your reaction to the 6 hostages being found dead in Gaza?
Thanks, everybody.
How can he be the vice president when he responds like that?
Well, he's a coward, but he knows that his state of Minnesota is very pro-Palestinian, so he's going to just not say anything that could be even considered controversial. And sadly, I guess that's how you win in politics. I like a politician like Donald Trump that's not afraid to speak his mind, but once he gets asked, Tim Walz gets asked one hard question, thank you, see ya, goodbye. Politicians are supposed to answer hard questions, whether they like it or not, whether we like the answer or not. But Tim Walz is just going to lie about his service in the military. He's going to lie to people's faces about what he's going to do when he's vice president. And he's just going to ignore people that have serious issues like the 6 hostages that were murdered. And CNN said they died. It's really sad because not only is Tim Walz wrong, but the mainstream media that's covering it is also wrong and insensitive.
We had that here in Australia as well. We had left-wing media outlets reporting that they died, not that they were in fact murdered, killed by Hamas terrorists. Now, as you mentioned, Tim Walz has lied. Meghan Kelly interviewed 4 veterans who served with Tim Walz, and they say he's a liar who abandoned his troops. Here's a grab.
Why did you come forward?
It is morally indefensible. He didn't care. It was all about him.
He's a military impersonator. I don't understand how he could do it morally, or you got to absolutely no integrity.
The rumor went across the state that he had quit, and it was like, who the hell does that? I mean, it was just unbelievable. Unbelievable that a CSM abandoned his troops, 500 soldiers basically, but beyond that, there's 1,000 parents out there that expect that person to lead those people into combat.
He's a habitual liar. He lies about everything. He lies about stuff that doesn't make sense. You're taking a piece of their thunder and you're trying to capture it and put it in a bottle for yourself and use that for your own benefit.
He basically said, I've got better things to do. Go pick somebody else to go on a mission. Well, if you sold out your guard unit and abandoned them, I mean, what are you going to do at the national level?
Fear is a reaction. Bravery is a decision. And Walz has made the wrong decision. He's not brave. I call him a coward because he is.
The message is very clear. What's your reaction?
Well, my reaction is that the cover-up is always worse than the crime. I mean, Tim Walz did give 24 years of service to the American people, but sadly, him making this lie and then now covering up for the lie, it just makes his whole entire military career worthless, and it just makes him look like an absolute coward, which he is. So that's what makes me mad, is the fact that, first of all, he got caught lying and saying that, he faced battle in Afghanistan. Just admit it. America, we're all about second chances. So covering up his lies just shows you that he has no integrity whatsoever. And just like Kamala Harris lying about working at McDonald's, these politicians will constantly lie if they think it'll help them get ahead. I mean, I don't know how we're ever going to get the real truth from any elected official.
Yeah, well said. Look, I'm ready to move on from Tim Walz, but we just have to go through one more painful part where he fronted up for that CNN interview with Kamala Harris. Don't know why he was there, but he was asked to respond about the claim that he made that he carried weapons in war, and this is how he responded.
The idea that you said that you were in war. Yeah. Did you misspeak, as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct.
So he's not a liar, he just has bad grammar.
Yeah, it's like when I said when my dog ate my homework when I was in elementary school. And the fact that he throws his wife under the bus, he must not love her. If I did that to my girlfriend, she'd kill me. So, I mean, that just shows you the type of guy he is. He'll do anything to get ahead, even throw his own wife and blame her basically for his bad grammar. It doesn't make sense. And it wasn't a grammar error because he got caught saying it multiple times. So, yeah, it was definitely not a grammar issue whatsoever.
Well, speaking of great guys, we heard from George Clooney this week, who played a pretty crucial role, as you may remember, in getting Joe Biden out, to get him to drop out of the race. But now he says that Joe Biden is just a selfless guy, and he even compared him to George Washington.
What should be remembered is the selfless act of someone who, it's very hard to let go of power. We know that. We've seen it, all around the world. And for someone to say, I think there's a better way forward, that's all the credit goes to him. And that's really the truth. And all the rest of it will be long gone and forgotten.
I'm actually lost for words, Alex. What do you make listening to George Clooney?
I agree with George Clooney. He is selfless. He doesn't even know who he is anymore. He has no idea. Joe Biden's on the beach in Delaware, just sitting there. Who am I? Where am I supposed to go? What day of the week is it? Am I still in the election? So, I mean, in a way, he is right. He's not even a human being anymore. He's not autonomous. He's being controlled by people like a puppet right now. And you know what? I feel bad, not for George Clooney. I mean, he's got a very good life. But I feel bad for Joe Biden just being puppeted and paraded around. The guy needs to retire, and he needs to just, go relax. Because like George Clooney said, he's selfless, but it wasn't his choice. He doesn't even get to choose to stay in the race. So he has no control over the decisions that he gets to make or that the country gets to make.
Well, Joe Biden is back from the beach, and he's back pretending that he's running the country. Here he is.
Folks, we made a lot of progress, and Kamala and I are going to build on that progress, and she's going to build on it. I'll be on the sidelines, but I'll do everything I can to help.
Looks like he forgot that he is no longer running for president. Should he go back to Delaware?
He does need to go back to Delaware, and mark my words, Joe Biden has no idea who Tim Walz is. He has no idea who's running with Kamala. He has no idea what's going on. He has no idea that World War III is going to happen. I mean, let's just be real. He's in a serious mental decline, because I know people his age that are still very spry and very sharp. And there was a time when, believe it or not, Joe Biden was a sharp politician.
Yeah.
But those days are long gone. He needs to retire, and I think they're going to get rid of him so they can put Kamala as president before the election. So this should scare all of us that she's going to be able to kind of get in through the back door and potentially stay the president if she wins this election.
We'll wait and see. Alex Stein, so great to speak with you.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Let's go to the UK now, where Prime Minister Keir Starmer's ratings have dropped to their lowest level yet. According to a YouGov poll, only a third of people in the UK have a favourable view of him. Joining us now is geopolitics and finance expert Roger Gewolb, who is in London for us. Roger, what's he doing wrong?
Just about everything. Only 20% of people actually voted for him. And his rating has really dropped. He has the opportunity, after 14 years of really messed up, incompetent, unlistening Tory conservative rule, Keir Starmer and Labour have the opportunity to be real heroes. They could fix all of the many things that are wrong with this country very quickly, some of them in an afternoon, and yet they are proceeding in totally the opposite direction and alienating huge swathes of the British public.
Can you go into a bit more detail? How do you see this playing out for Keir Starmer?
Well, I think that starting out where it hurts the most, pocketbooks, he made a big thing of not raising taxes. And he did mention several particular taxes that he won't raise. But he and Rachel Reeves, his money person, his Chancellor of the Exchequer, the first ever woman Chancellor, do seem intent on raising taxes in areas that they didn't mention. So they will increase inheritance tax. They will increase capital gains tax and hit entrepreneurs. They will, there's some word being mooted, charge so many pence per mile to drive your car in Britain now, which is really going to be incredibly unpopular. And he said that he will not raise the national insurance. In other words, when you get your paycheck, there is a deduction by the government on you and a charge to your employer. So he's not going to touch the employee charge, but he is going to increase the charge to employers, which simply gets passed on. So I think the tax and the money aspect is the first area where he's lost a lot of credibility. The other is freedom of speech. I mean, he's actually emptying prisons of thousands and thousands of pretty serious criminals and filling up their cells with hundreds of people who have posted critical comments on social media. Now, most of them do seem to be very inappropriate things that incited riots and were, hate crimes in themselves. But he does seem to be, many say, clamping down on freedom of speech. And a lot of people are saying it's 1984 here.
Okay, let's look at the crisis in the Middle East. In Israel, tens of thousands of Israelis protested against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, demanding a ceasefire for a hostage deal. Look, the anger towards Benjamin Netanyahu has been increasing after the tragic news broke that 6 more captives were horrifically killed in Gaza.
That Bibi Netanyahu is not doing enough at all. He is killing kids and he's killing the hostages by leaving them there.
Roger, it's been almost 11 months now. No wonder there is so much anger.
It's still a very small proportion of Israelis, as we understand it, that are critical of Netanyahu for not making a peace deal, because after all, how do you make a peace deal? How do you have a ceasefire with a terrorist group that says it's not going to lay down its arms? I mean, it would mean the destruction of Israel the next day if they stopped fighting while Hamas continued. So one can understand absolutely how those people feel, and especially the group of hostage families, absolutely. But Netanyahu is holding firm. Some people are criticizing him, just saying he's trying to hold on to political power by satisfying the more extreme factions in his government. But at the same time, other analysts are saying, well, yeah, but I mean, how could you have a ceasefire with these people? Just killing those 6 poor hostages just before they were to be released doesn't send a message that one is progressing towards peace.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, anti-Semitism is still on full display. Thousands of anti-Israel protesters, some waving Hamas flags, stormed through New York City on Labor Day. Take a look. Roger, can I get your reaction to the protests?
I think they started out because, of course, there were also protests at Columbia University again, and other parts of New York. I think they started out, the reports say, as peaceful protests, but as so often happens with these, they then turn quite negative, quite nasty. I just think it's absolutely disgusting. On the day that an American citizen, one of the hostages, was being laid to rest, to be waving Hamas flags. That must be some sort of hate crime under New York law. I mean, it's just, Hamas is a terrorist organization, and what those people in the streets, however well-meaning they are about peace in the region and Palestinians and the rest, I mean, surely they know that Hamas and Islamic Jihad and all these other groups intend that everybody else is next. The Jews are just the canary in the mine. Anybody who's an infidel, including all those many, many millions of Muslims who don't practice their extreme form of Islam, are the next targets. So what are they out there waving flags for if somebody who wants to get rid of them as well? I find it very puzzling and very offensive to be seeing Hamas flags going down the streets in New York City.
Yeah, it's very hard to watch time and time again. Staying in the United States, the high-stakes debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris is only a week away. There are reports that Kamala Harris will spend at least 5 days in the lead-up to it preparing intensely. How do you think she'll go?
I think she's going to be much better than she has been. I mean, people were really disappointed, Gabriella, that she only spoke for 27 minutes instead of, I suppose, an hour or so. I think she'll do better because, she's been under a hard grind now and a lot of pressure, but I don't think she'll be any match for Donald Trump. There's still a lot of debate about whether the microphones will be muted or left on. And if they're left on, that gives Trump an opportunity to interrupt and score points and all the rest, and her too, but it's probably more his style. I mean, I think he'll probably win the debate hands down. There's no way. She's just not a strategic enough thinker, nor an accomplished enough strategist or speaker to prevail over someone like Trump. But look, I keep all over the place on networks all around the world. I keep getting asked this question, and I keep saying the same thing. Let me ask you a question. If you wanted somebody to be president of the United States and leader of the free world, and the person who currently held that role stood down and said, I'm not going to run, wouldn't you put your candidate in place the next morning so they could show their stuff and show what they can do? Why is Joe Biden, who has trouble telling what day it is sometimes, still running America and leading the free world? Why isn't Kamala the new president? I'll tell you for why. Because it's very likely that she would mess up and create quite an embarrassment about something before the 5th November, and then the Democrats' goose would be cooked. There's already enough stuff coming out about their links to China and all sorts of other stuff, which is going to not do them a lot of good. And if Kamala just put her foot wrong and said one wrong thing, which she's very likely to do, that would be it for them. But I just think it's amazing that he's still running the country and she's standing there.
Oh, he's apparently running the country. He's been at the beach for most of the week, but look, he is back. I want to talk to you about Ukraine before I let you go. According to US officials, the Biden administration is close to agreeing to giving Ukraine long-range cruise missiles, but Kyiv will need to wait several months due to technical issues. The US has provided over $55 billion in military aid since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Roger, do you think that the US should keep pouring money into it?
No, I don't. I don't think anybody should. And I know a lot of people disagree with me, but, you know, all the geopolitics experts that I know, and that's quite a few, are now saying, if this was happening a year ago, bravo, but it's too late. It's time to negotiate. The Ukraine is at best creating a bargaining chip by their invasion of Russia. They are at best, by all these efforts, creating just a bargaining chip. They're not going to win. It's time to end this and negotiate. This war is ridiculous to keep carrying on. Some people are calling it Zelensky's ego trip. I'm not sure about that. That might be a bit extreme. But I think he's a patriotic guy. But I think it needs to stop, because all of this money, when we need it for things at home, I mean, the National Health Service in the UK, your own immigration problems in Australia. I mean, money is needed everywhere domestically, and to pour it into this bottomless pit, I think is unwise at this point. We're past the point where it's going to make a difference.
Dr. Roger Giwob, so great to speak with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Prince Harry has reconnected with his Spencer family roots during a secret stay at Princess Diana's former home. Riley Sullivan is a reporter here at skynews.com.au, and he's always across the latest headlines from the royal family. Riley, great to see you.
Great to be back.
Prince Harry returned to the UK last week for the funeral of his uncle, Robert Fellows, and the Duke is understood to have stayed at the Spencer family's ancestral home. What do we know about the stay?
Right. Well, as we know, Harry flew into the UK very, very much under the cover of darkness last week to attend the funeral of his uncle, Robert Fellows. This was the husband of Princess Diana's sister, and it's understood that they were pretty close with Harry and William, so it wasn't unsurprising that he went, but it definitely wasn't announced ahead of time. And since Harry's returned back to California, we found out that he did stay at the Spencer family ancestral home, Althorpe. This home was Diana's home growing up, and it's now in the possession of her brother, Earl Spencer. And it's understood that Harry stayed there. It's kind of a somber place for Harry, because it's also where Princess Diana is actually buried at the home. She's buried, it's kind of like a lake on the grounds, and it's very private and discreet, and obviously that was the idea. So certainly a very emotional trip, I'm sure, for Harry.
Yeah, indeed. Look, Harry and his wife Meghan have reportedly lost their 10th staff member in under 3 years. Who's the latest member of the Sussex to hand in their notice?
Right. Well, this week we found out that actually they've lost their head of communications for Archewell, and her name was Christine. She was very highly regarded. She previously worked for Apple, so definitely one of their big hires that they took on in 2021, and unfortunately it didn't work out. She's handed in her notice. It was actually happened a few months ago, but it's only come out now. So I think that's quite interesting. I don't know if that was a mutual decision to keep it quiet, but certainly it does not look good for Meghan and Harry. I mean, they have this reputation of burning through staff members. So,
There's
once
another
again...
one. 10, so many.
Right.
It doesn't help them.
No.
Look, Prince William has announced our very own Robert Irwin as the newest ambassador for his Earthshot Prize charity. What did Robert have to say about his new royal role?
Yeah, I thought this was just a fantastic partnership. We've got Robert Irwin, who's in a way Australia's royalty, maybe.
Absolutely.
And very, very much just a great guy, very highly regarded. People often say in the Australian media industry that he's just gold. Everything he touches turns to gold. And he's teamed up with Prince William for the Earthshot Prize charity as an ambassador. Of course, this is an environmental charity. It's very much in keeping with the values that Robert Irwin, and his family have always emphasised, and that is all about environmentalism, protecting the environment, protecting endangered species. And I just think it's a great partnership. I think it really shows that William and his team really are just masterful in how they seek out these partnerships and they pick ambassadors that they know will resonate. And I just think it's a great deal. And Robert was, he said he was very honoured by it, and he sort of echoed this whole feeling of using the platform to not only like draw attention to a worthy cause, but also, his legacy and his family legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. We love to see it. Great partnership indeed.
Fantastic.
Makes us very proud. Norway's Princess Martha Louise married an American shaman over the weekend. Look, what do we know about the big day and why her new husband is so controversial?
Right. Well, we don't talk a lot about the Scandinavian royals, but over the weekend, Princess Martha Louise married for the second time. She married a man named Derek Verrett, who is a self-professed shaman. He apparently is a friend of Gwyneth Paltrow, and he's quite a colourful character. Awkwardly, some people in the Norwegian media think he's a bit of a conman. They think that, allegedly, that he has, done some things in the past that are a bit questionable. But then again, Martha Louise is quite a controversial royal. She famously considers herself a clairvoyant. She embraces spirituality. And she's actually, much like Harry and Meghan, she's not a working royal. I think the Norwegian royal family have been put in this position where they're a close-knit family. She's the only daughter of the king, King Harold, and she has one brother who will be the next king. And I think they're a close-knit family, but I think that they've had to kind of split from her a little bit publicly. So at this wedding, it wasn't a normal royal wedding. Like, we didn't see crowds lining up outside. It was all kind of under wraps, but there was a lot of royals there and a lot of celebrities there. Including members of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Like, just all these kind of random American people flew in for the wedding. And we also sort of found out that it will be the subject of a Netflix documentary. So stay tuned for that.
Watch this space. Riley Sullivan, so great to speak with you. Thank you.
Great to see you. Thank you.
That is Power Hour. Thank you for your company. We'll see you next week. Make sure you subscribe to Sky News Australia on YouTube.